Looking Forward show. And I'm Jeff Abramowitz, your host, and I'm grateful to be here today. And today is our Thanksgiving show. You're listening to Philly Cam. It'll be Philly Cam Radio, WPPM LP 106.5, and that airs tomorrow at 5 o'clock. And you're on Philly Cam TV, live streaming at Xfinity 66 and 966, Vios TV 29 and 30, Roku, Apple TV, and YouTube. And I am really excited to be here. And Thanksgiving, it's like my favorite holiday of the year. So it's so unconditional. That's what I love about Thanksgiving. It's the holiday that you have the three things you love: family, football, and food. The three F's. It doesn't get any better than that. So I'm really excited to be here. Again, looking forward, we are going into our third year. We've been on television now in Philly Cam and Philly Cam TV since I guess during COVID, I guess March maybe we started on air, and really been having some tremendous guests. I'm so excited about our wonderful guests we have today. We have Lisa Kessler Peters is going to be on, and Bobby Harris, two people that have incredible stories to tell and are doing some awesome work in the field. So before we get there, I always do my kind of catch up for the week, and I want to start off with I don't usually do this. Actually, I've rarely in the course of the year, I think this is the only time that I'm out there asking for something. So here's what I'm asking for. This week at Philly Cam, it is our fundraising opportunity. It's the 5th anniversary fund drive for WPPM 106.5. And the one thing that's just so amazing about Philly Cam is that it gives us the space to have these discussions to really share with our Philadelphia community, with the national audience, really all about the work that's happening in the justice field and in so many different areas. And it really gives people a voice. So if you have an opportunity and you can afford a little bit, our fundraising goal is $5,000. It's not huge, but you can donate something at phillycam.org/listen. And this campaign will be going on for the next few weeks. So it's to support WPPM 106.5 FM here in Philadelphia, where our show airs every other Wednesday at 5 o'clock p.m. So we'll talk about that more again in a minute. But the last few weeks, a lot's happened. So much going on. The first thing that happened was Intersect 2020. The Coalition on Adult Basic Education ran a program called Intersect 2020, which was really cool because it brought together education and workforce development. And I was really proud that I had the opportunity to do a workshop with Danielle Cox, who is head of the Department of Labor, and she oversees the education programming for the Department of Labor in Maryland. And we did a whole thing about the untapped talent pool of getting returning citizens back to work and people that are justice involved. And it was just a great event. But if you want to check it out, if you go onto coabe.org, it's COABE.org, it's just check out Intersect 2021. And it's all about the intersection of education and workforce development. So that was pretty great. Last week we had the Pennsylvania Workforce Development Board, which I chair the reentry subcommittee on. Was able to present at our regular meeting for the Workforce Development Board here in Pennsylvania. And I want to read to you because I'm really proud of the resolution that was passed unanimously that we presented. It states that the Commonwealth shall take all requisite steps, including, if necessary, promulgating new regulations to ensure the prompt review within 1 year by the Board of Pardons of all applications for pardon from Pennsylvanians who've completed their sentences 5 or more years ago on convictions that did not include crimes of violence and who have remained arrest-free ever since. So, I do believe, and I've said this before, you eat an apple one bite at a time, right? And the way you change the way things are done in our government and with pardons and expungements and the whole 9 yards is you chip away. And this was a chip away. Be able to have the Workforce Development Board endorse the fact that within 1 year, we need to look at those applications that are going in front of the Board of Pardons. I call them the lower hanging fruit, the things that make sense. It was a great achievement. I'm really proud and thank the full Workforce Development Board and Jeff Brown for his leadership as well for helping us get that through and pass it through. Also, interestingly enough, I was on several calls over the last few weeks with the First Lady of Pennsylvania, Frances Wolf, who's now supporting reentry initiatives that target women. And I thought that was awesome. I think we need more programming that support women that are going through the justice system and that are coming home. So really excited about that. And the last thing I wanted to mention was had the opportunity to present before the South Carolina Correctional Educators for the state, and was just amazed to see that South Carolina, like Pennsylvania, like Michigan, like all the states across our country, we're all dealing with the same issues when it comes to helping justice involved individuals. And I was really glad to hear and have a discussion from people that do the work behind the walls about the challenges that they face, and really starting to put the pieces together, understanding that we have to do more to educate men and women as they come home, and even starting behind the walls with getting them smarter and into trades and helping people figure it out. So really, so much is going on. I do have regards this week from Lou Narvaez, the District Director of Probation and Parole. Lou is usually on our show every week. He usually hops on to give us what's going on inside. And he wasn't able to make it today, but I wish Lou and his family happy Thanksgiving, and we'll make sure we'll catch up with them in December after the holidays over. So we're going to take a really quick break. And before we do, I just want to mention that we are going to be asking our guests, and we want everyone to be thinking about what are you thankful for. This is our Thanksgiving show, and you're listening to Looking Forward. And welcome to Looking Forward. I'm grateful for our first guest, who I can't wait to bring on. So we first met several years ago at the Pennsylvania Reentry Council in Harrisburg. At one of the meetings, I had the pleasure of meeting Lisa Kessler Peters. Lisa is a wife, mother of three, a spiritual mother to just about everybody she comes in contact with. She's an ordained minister, advocate, speaker, and author of Why I Tried to Die, a story of trauma, resilience, and restoration. Lisa has her bachelor's degree in science in criminal justice, a master's degree in applied behavioral analysis. She is certified recovery specialist. She's a trained mentor, trauma-informed practices. The list really goes on, excuse me, for all the work that she does. Her mission, though, is clear. It's to empower others to know that they can have the same freedom as she has. And she's bold, courageous. She wants to forget where she came from and what she has been through. She wants never to forget it. And she's going to share her story with us. So Lisa, it's so good to see you. Welcome, welcome.
Hi, it's so good to be here. Thank you for having me, Jeff.
So I was trying to think back on the first time you and I met, and I remember it was actually Rob Reed from the Attorney General's office that introduced us, and we were at a Pennsylvania Reentry Council meeting, and you got to stand up and really share some of the work you were doing and your journey, and I just welcome you to the show, and thank you so much for taking time out. I'm thankful for you, so thank you. Yes. So why don't you start by, can you tell us a little bit about Lisa, about your journey and who you are?
Yeah, so just speaking to you saying about when you met me, it's funny because at that meeting where it was a lot of professionals, a lot of people thought that I was a secretary to Rob Reed, and it actually came, when it was time for me to share my story, people were floored to find out that I was a reentrant, that I was somebody that was formerly incarcerated, because I don't really look like somebody that's the typical of what people think that somebody that has been incarcerated looks like. So just a little bit of my story. I grew up in poverty, grew up with parents that were involved in substance use disorder, that were involved in criminal justice or criminal activity. So it was really kind of just part of the environment that I was raised in. I ended up being in and out of foster home and ended up being in more homes than years that I had in my life. And so there really was no consistency. There was a lot of neglect, abandonment, abuse. And so growing up, I did not know what trauma was, as most children don't. We definitely didn't talk about it back in the 80s and 90s. It wasn't a buzzword like it is now. And so I developed suicide ideation, which is the desire to kill oneself at the very young age of 9 years old. And it really was something that a lot of people deal with, but not too many people talk about it. So it was like a mental illness that I was struggling with, that I had in hiding. And whenever it would be found out by those that were taking care of me, whether it was a family member or foster care, it really was kind of like pushed away, like, oh, she just has a cold. We'll just like, have her wait that off and then go about our business. So I really wasn't addressed, and it really became a bigger and bigger issue in my life. And so for 22 years, I struggled with suicide ideation. On top of that, I developed a substance use disorder very early on in life. Like most people, started off with smoking cigarettes, weed, drinking here and there at the earliest age, around like 9, 10 years old. And then my father introduced me to crack cocaine at the age of 12. So that's just a little bit of like my childhood. So as I got older, I didn't know what I wanted to be, but I knew what I didn't want to be. So I will add this because this has a huge part to do with my story. And it's that I was taught, whether we believe it or not, what our parents tell us, we believe in part, at least. And so I was taught that we were anti-religious, so that religion was for weak people. We were anti-government, and we were anti-law enforcement. So I wasn't sure what we were for, but I knew that we were against basically everything.
That's the trifecta there. You got it. You got it all covered right there. So I'm curious about a few things. One is, first, I can so appreciate it. So I don't know. So during my journey, I could tell you that there was a time when I really thought, and I even wrote a story about 12. It's called It's Not Just a Foot, about how I really thought when I got indicted that there was times when I was driving down the highway, like how easy it would be just to drive into oncoming traffic or drive over a bridge and just put it to end, and that would be the end. So what was it that kept you going through all this?
I wanted to figure out, for one, I just wasn't successful. So there really just was, for me, God was protecting me, even though at a young age, I believed that there was no God, because I was raised to be an atheist. I used to believe either there was no God or that God was not good, that he would allow these things to happen for me. So I really just I just felt like adding to all the other things that I was failing at, that I couldn't even be successful at this. But my outlet was education. It was something that nobody could take from me. So even though I was into the drug game and I was into criminal activity, even as a youth, and was doing all these things that were, causing me to go down the wrong path, education was something that, like, nobody cared whether I did well or not, but it was something that I had control over. So I really wanted to figure out what was wrong with me first and foremost, but also what was wrong with everybody else so that I could fix us. I mean, honestly, as a young person, as a teenager and a young person, that's really what I used to try to think that I was going to figure out in this lifetime. So, so that's why I pursued my bachelor's in criminal justice. And it was more the behavioral science of it. So I was really fascinated by like the FBI, the behavioral unit, how they, study serial killers and stuff like that. And I wanted to understand why we do the things that we do.
But you got
And
more certifications behind your name now, from ordained minister straight through to your master's and all the trauma informed care that you do.
yeah,
How long have you been home?
I have been home since October 13th, 2014. So a little over 7 years.
So tell us a little bit. I know you have you're a mother of three, two teenagers. We talked about that a little bit,
Yeah.
which is crazy. But what are you doing now? Like, what drives you? What's your passion?
Yeah, so I would never believe, talking about Thanksgiving, I would never believe that the life I have today would ever be mine. And even though things are difficult because life shows up all the time, as we all are aware, I have a life that is beyond my wildest dreams. And during my incarceration, I thought this is the end for me. And I think it's really important to put that out there for anybody that has been impacted, that either is on the inside or that is out and really feels that way. Like I felt like there was a really small ceiling, that I had very limited space of where I can go in life, and that I just was going to have to settle for what I could get in this lifetime based off of the choices that I had made and the choices that other people had made.
You said something in your bio, that struck me because it's a chord that is really close to home, and that's that I do believe nothing happens in vain. I think everything in this world has a purpose behind it, and really, it's our job to kind of figure it all out. We got to figure it out, and you definitely have figured it out. Most proud thing, I think, and you beamed when I saw you do it. But can you tell us? I know you have a book you've written, and when I first saw you hold it up at an event that I was at, you just had this smile, like, this is my story, this is it.
Yeah.
Tell us, how long did it take you to write it? How long has it been out, and what's it called?
Yeah. So for those that can see, here's my book. It's Why I Tried to Die: A Story of Trauma, Resiliency, and Restoration. And I am actually working on book number 2 right now, and probably a workbook that goes along with this. But I actually knew that I was going to write my story since I was 11 years old. So when people ask me how long it took me to write it, there's a short and a long answer to that. So I knew since I was 11, and I would start writing my story as early as 11, back at a typewriter, back when we used to use typewriters before
Wow.
before we could, everybody had a computer. And then I would get frustrated at my life and rip it up. But when it was actually time to write it, and I knew that it was time, it actually took me less than 2 months to write the fullness of this first book. And the point of this book is really there's 2 major parts of it. Is one, to give hope to those that feel like they can't ever have a life other than the life that they've been given. So whether they come from a lot of trauma, whether they come from substance use disorder, whether they come from mental health disorder, whether they've been in the criminal justice involvement, regardless of that, if you feel like I can't ever get out of this, like I just keep going around this circle over and over again and I can't get out, it really is to empower you to know that you really can come out, and push out of that circle and start a new path forward. And then the second part is really, and I was really surprised when God sent me on this part of it, but really to teach and educate those that have authority and power over people like me and those that are involved in the criminal justice arena, that so that they would understand the difference between what is wrong with you and what has happened to you. Because as anybody knows that has been in the criminal justice involved arena, that there's a story of how you ended up where you ended up. And it really doesn't always justify what you did, but it makes it understandable of how did you get to that place? Because when we just see somebody's charges and we just see, somebody's docket and their paperwork, we're like, oh my goodness, what is wrong with this person? Even me included. I look like a bad person on paper. But when you hear my story and you know me and you hear about me, you realize I'm harmless, that I would never cause injury to anybody, and that I actually want everybody to have freedom. I want everybody to have the best life that they can have. And so that is one of the biggest missions that I'm on, is really to help change that narrative from what is wrong with you to what has happened to you. Because as you are aware, our system is not working the way that it is set up.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to be talking about that too. We're so proud of you. I'm so proud of you and the work that you're doing. And I encourage everyone to go out and take a look at the book. And I want you to hang in there. We're gonna go to our next guest. But we're gonna bring Lisa back because we're gonna be doing what we're thankful for, and we're gonna dive into that the last half of the show. But I want to bring on our next guest in a minute. We're gonna be right back. You're listening to Looking Forward. And welcome to Looking Forward. Lisa, we're going to put you in the waiting room, and I want to bring our next guest on, and Bobby Harris. Bobby, at age 15, Bobby was sentenced to life in prison as a result of U.S. Supreme Court's ruling in 2010, Miller versus Alabama, which established it's unconstitutional to sentence a juvenile offender to mandatory life without parole. In 2016, Montgomery versus Louisiana ruling, Bobby's case came up for review, and the district attorney approved, recommended a shortened sentence, and was eligible for parole right after. He has done so much in the space of the time that he's been home and in our community. And Bobby spends his life and his work working with at-risk juveniles and in the justice space, working to fix our systems that have been broken for decades. And I'm so glad this is long overdue, and I'm so glad to have you on our show. How are you, Bobby Harris?
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Yes, it is long overdue. I'm honored to be amongst you. We have known each other for my entire 4 years that I've been home. We have always been in that circle. But first, I'd like to say thank you to Lisa for sharing her story. Like, to me, that's the genesis, of all our trials and tribulations, but it also leads up to the day that we're able to see and witness the growth and development as she has displayed and continuously. So thank you, Jeff, for allowing your audience as well as myself to experience her life.
Our pleasure. So, Bobby, you and I, we go back a bit. We were, I know when you were doing some work for Just Leadership USA, and I was a fellow for Just Leadership with Ruben and John Dye and the whole crew that was doing some campaign work. And we followed each other in our work, and I follow your posts all the time and the great work that you're doing. I want to talk a little bit about your journey, though, and if you could share with us, like, what's it like, going through the system and not thinking at some point that you may ever see the outside world, and then all of a sudden being blessed with an opportunity to come home. Can you share with us what that journey was, a little bit, what it was about?
Well, my journey prior to incarceration, I grew up in poverty. I grew up in the city of Philadelphia. I grew up in the streets. The neighborhood that cultivated me was 8th and Butler. For those that are familiar with 8th and Butler, that was a very active drug community. And that's where I learned how to survive in the streets of Philadelphia. It eventually led to me going to prison at the age of 15, sentenced to die with a life sentence. But prior to that, what led me there was I was an orphan to the streets. And a lot of people in my family didn't know how to deal with the layers and layers of trauma that was impacting my family. And to this day, my family still don't address it or whatever. I strive to address it, from me witnessing my mother murdered, from my mother witnessing her father murdered, to me being abandoned, as I would like to say, from that growth and development, from a nurturing, sector in the side of the family. It wasn't there. So the streets cultivated me, and then eventually led to me going to prison and serving 29 years in the penitentiary. The moment that I walked into the prison was the moment that I decided to do something, and I decided to resent the atmosphere. I decided to not feel as though I was in a place that I was going to reside at, nor was I going to allow myself to remain there. So I took steps to educate myself. I took steps to enhance my comprehension. I took steps to be able to communicate as well as to listen. This way, I would be able to have that conflict resolution inside of me to prevent prior situations from ever occurring again. So when I walked into prison, I went to the law library. When I walked in the penitentiary, I went and sat amongst individuals that mentored me to be something better than the misfit that was misrepresenting and was provided with misinformation on who and what I am towards the human family. And that elevated me harder and stronger to pursue my freedom. So constantly, I studied the law. Constantly, I sought out legal research from attorneys, from anyone that was in that sector. That was my drive. I never lived in prison believing that I was going to die in prison. I never sat in that penitentiary in those 29 years and said, I have a life sentence and I'm never coming home. I said, I just don't know my release date, but I'm going to be released. I'm going to be free. But more importantly, I'm going to make sure I live my life this time in a way that I prevent someone else from implementing or displaying those acts that I once displayed.
So, Bobby, I often talk to audiences all across the country, and one of the things I'm sometimes asked is, what is it? When should we start getting people educated or skill trained inside? And I always say to them, it's the OGs, it's the old guys, right, that are inside the walls that sometimes have the biggest impact on the guys that are coming through the system. And those people that dedicate and work hard inside, no matter what their exit date might be, they're the ones sending the message to the young men that travel through, that walk in there, that you can't come back here. This isn't a life for you. And, you got to find a way to find yourself and find your way out. And I don't know if it's even possible, but the second you put your foot out that facility door, what was that feeling like?
That's a good question. On November 5th, when I walked out that door, I walked out with a heavy burden. I walked out of that penitentiary at SCI Dallas, witnessing a population of about 1,800. And the prisons don't allow that population out at that large mass at one time. But I walked out and they all was in the hallways, on the walkways, some that couldn't make it off the blocks. It was in the windows. They was chanting, Bobby, we love you. We know that you're going to do the right thing. I saw grown men cry, grown men sentenced to die, grown men that old ink wrote and defined them as unworthy of life, same individuals that instilled life in me. So I walked out of the penitentiary with the responsibility and them on my shoulders and in my heart. I have to do something to display and reveal who and what we are beyond that old narrative or that old ink that was written in the courthouses about each and every last one of us. So I said, I don't have room to sleep. I don't have room to be tired. I am required to do what I'm doing. And I took that step, and the very next day I went to, Donna Bullock's office, to go meet with Thomas Young, and then Stephen Kinsley's office to go meet with Stacy, his old chief of staff, and I said, where do I need to go? Because I'm going to show society. And I have continuously take that step.
Not only have you taken that step, man, you've kicked it up 10 notches, because I don't know that you ever sleep. So much has happened between the act. I know that you're active in the advocacy world, and you're constantly working with men and women as they come home and helping them figure it out, from giving out food to doing all these things. So what are you doing now? Like, where's your passion, and what lane are you in?
My passion is still in the activist world. I just found out that there was a problem in the activist world. I found out that not everybody understands what you and I have went through, Jeff, with that direct experience of being incarcerated. A lot of people know the textbook version or the visual sight of an individual that has returned home. They don't know about the person that's still up in there with dreams and hopes. They don't know about the individuals that's due to be released tomorrow. They don't know what it's like for that individual to have his heart rates, way beyond 72 beats per minute, because he's anxious and he's depressed and he's going through trauma, on how he's going to survive with imagining life out here. I found that with the number of people that I was able to find employment for, the number of people that I was able to find free of charge through Unincarcerated Minds, the nonprofit that I founded and started, to receive 8 free sessions of trauma-informed care, found out that it was still a bigger problem. We weren't tapping into their ability that they displayed inside the prison. We was making them employees to incarceration. We were making them employees to acceptance of shortcomings. We were making them employees to depression, stress, trauma. So I said, no, I need to do something to liberate them. I'm a trial and error type of man. Mm-hmm. I'll rather make the mistakes so others can learn from it. And I done just that. I got tired of them seeking for employment. So I said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go sell my car. I had a 2020 Jeep. I went and sold my vehicle. I went and purchased a truck, and I went and purchased another truck. I went and secured the contract, distributing Staples product across Pennsylvania as well as New Jersey. Waking up 3 o'clock in the morning, trial and error is my mission. So I learned what it was like to haul product to different establishments across the state of Pennsylvania and over into the tri-state. And I told these, and I'm coming back for each and every last one of you. I want to be able to provide you with the opportunity of being employed, but more importantly, I want to teach you the game of the trucking industry. I want to teach you how you can become your own boss, how you can turn around and you can make, without calls or looking over your shoulders, $1,700 a week. How you can multiply that by 4, how you can multiply that by 12. Then how you can use and multiply that. There's an art and science to living, and there's an art and science to getting out of poverty. So I believe I have found that, and I'm now moving in that direction through my trucking company, BR Trucking, which stands for Bobby and Ramona, my wife.
So we're going to get there in a second, but the audience should know that on the call, you were actually checked in earlier with us when the show first started, and you were actually in your truck coming back from 95 from making a run. And I can't tell you how much we wish you good luck with your company, and a noble mission to really get people, and gosh knows across the country, man, that this is logistics and driving is probably one of the most needed things across our country right now, as our ships are trying to bring merchandise into our country.
Yes.
So I commend you for all that. And I know you mentioned your wife, so congratulations. I know you recently got married as well, and had a chance to talk to your wife. I've met her before, and just a lovely lady. Congratulations for all that. Just incredible to find your life partner and move on. That's just terrific. I just want one last question. We're gonna bring Lisa back and have a group discussion of why we're thankful. So we all have a lot to be thankful for. But one last question. You do so much work in the advocacy world and in criminal justice space. If there was one thing that you could change tomorrow, what would it be?
That's a great question. There was one thing that I could change tomorrow.
Yeah.
I would say that I would change the political atmosphere of charlatan mentality
Hmm.
towards the people.
Got it. Good one. So we're going to come back. Bobby, thank you for sharing your story. It's just remarkable. We're going to be back in a second. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about what we're all thankful for. So we're here looking forward. Again, Philly Camp TV live streaming on Xfinity, Vios, Roku, Apple TV, YouTube. And you're listening to Looking Forward. So we'll be right back. Farge, Jeff Abramowitz here, and I'm grateful to have our two wonderful guests here today. We're gonna catch up now, and I promised you we'd be talking about Thanksgiving. And again, I told you it's my favorite holiday. I got the 3 Fs. Got my family, food, and football. That's kind of all I really need to keep me happy. But I will. I want to talk to you, and I'd like to hear from you guys about what you're thankful for. And we heard your stories, and I'm sure the bucket list is really long of what you're thankful for. But who wants to start us off? Who wants to kick us off? I'll give it to either one of you.
I'll go with one thing that I'm really thankful for is my experience. Without the experience that I've had in this life, and most people would be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I wish those things didn't happen to you. But if I didn't have the experiences that I had in my life, I wouldn't have the compassion and the desire to love and care and change the systems that are in place and really just to do the work that I do. So I really am thankful for that.
That's awesome. Thanks, Lisa. They're so the laundry list is pretty long, right? Of things we're thankful for, and I think that we each have certain places and certain things for us that that triggers. The trauma of prison itself. When you come home, things that we still live with all the time that we associate with prison. And there's a great line that I kind of live by every day: is that my worst day on the outside is better than my best day on the inside. And being free and having that freedom is something that many Americans take for granted until they don't have it, and then you have a renewed appreciation for it. So, Bobby, what are you thankful for? You got a lot.
Yeah, I do. The first thing I'm grateful that I'm able to remember. I'm grateful that I'm able to actually love. I'm grateful that I'm able to believe. I'm grateful that I'm able to fight and resist stupidity. I'm grateful that I no longer think or feel abandoned. For even individuals that don't know me or don't understand me, I still feel accepted because I accept them with the belief that we can be one. I'm thankful that I remember every last one of them individuals in the penitentiary that pushed me and also encourage and continuously mentor me from the inside to do exactly what I'm doing. I'm grateful for my wife, who has a lot of patience. I'm really grateful for my wife. I say she spoke life into me when I didn't see or perceive the life as it should have been. And she sits at the top of my gratefulness, my thankfulness.
Awesome. So we're not done. We're going to get back to you too, but I'm going to share. So something happened on the way over here tonight. I'm here at the studio, and I had been trying to reach my cellmate, my bunkie, that I was with for most of my time away. And he's an older gentleman. I've been trying to reach him for at least the last year or so. And we were pretty close when I came home, and he was really kind to me and my daughter. And we really had this great relationship. We learned a lot from each other while I was away, and I was unable to reach him. And on the way home, on the way over to the show tonight, I received a phone call, and it was my bunkie, and he had suffered a stroke about a year ago, and he lost he's got paralysis on one side of his body, but he reached out to me because he picked up his phone. He was able to get through to see some of the people that reached out, and I would check in with him religiously, trying to get something once a month, and I was so glad to hear from him. And it brought me back to a place where those relationships that you have, those people that had such an impact on you. I mean, he introduced me to the world of art, and he introduced me to the world of reading. And there's a great line that he had told me once, that reading opens the door to your heart, but writing opens the window to your soul. And he was so impactful for me just as a person. So many things happen in your journey. So that was one of those things that just caught me a little off guard before the show, but something that I'm tremendously grateful for. As Bobby said, we remember, right? We remember all those things, and kind of a way it keeps us grounded and keeps us in a place where we remember so that we can be better and move forward. Lisa, there's so much that you've accomplished since you've been home, between the work that you do, and I'm curious, is there something in the holiday that sticks out for you? Is there something that that I know that you have the book, and I want to make sure you get that out and show that again. But is there something that sticks out as, there you go, that rises to the top of gratefulness, like when you sit down at that Thanksgiving meal and say, this is what I'm most grateful for. Give it to us.
Whew. What am I the most thankful for? I think really it is that I have asked to never forget where I came from, and Bobby spoke to that. Like, I truly don't want to forget, because I don't want to forget about the people that I met. I don't want to forget about the people that I serve every day in the work that I do as a counselor and as an advocate. I don't want to get so far removed. And I can list things like, I got a house this year that is way beyond my wildest dreams. And I did get married to an amazing man. But there's just something about not forgetting, even though I'm healed and I'm healing from all the things that I've been through and all those horrific things that I endured, and I still have some PTSD, but I still work it out every day. In this place of gratitude, the reason why I love Thanksgiving, it's always been my favorite holiday, beyond the fact of the food at Thanksgiving is my favorite food, is that it really keeps that gratitude at the forefront, when we should have that mindset every single day. Because when we are in a place of gratitude, it's hard to be depressed. It's hard to be anxious. It's hard to get overwhelmed by our circumstances and the things going on in our life when we're in a place of true gratitude. But in this season of Thanksgiving, as a world, as a culture, this is what we do, where we can all be united and see what are we thankful for. And so that's probably what I am the most.
Isn't it a shame? So I so appreciate that, but isn't it a shame that it takes they call out one day a year for us to be thankful? Like, shouldn't it be every single day that we're thankful? It's like It's like giving. You know, they have Giving Tuesday, and shouldn't we be giving every day? Like just a little bit. Maybe it's just a hello to somebody, or a smile, or a handshake, or you know what? You got a few items. Why don't you get ahead of me in the line? Like, why is it that Giving Tuesday, or that one day where we're told to be nice to somebody? Well, same thing for Thanksgiving. I think it should be every day should be Thanksgiving, although I couldn't eat turkey every single day. But I do think that, yeah, I'm not sure that I like appreciate calling it out. I get that part of it, but I do think that we should be doing it every single day. Bobby, one that rises to the top of your thankfulness, so you're thankful for.
Yes, yes, it is. Along the line of what you said about it, there's a verse in the scriptures: "Freely ye have received, so freely ye shall give."
Mhm.
That's very important for all of us. So it shouldn't be just one day. That should be displayed every day. For
Mhm.
me, mine is looped into before Thanksgiving. Anyone that knows me know that November the 14th was the most traumatic day of my life when I witnessed my mom murdered. It's also became the day that I decided to hate November the 14th. And I wound up reclaiming November the 14th, walking into the belief system, not with mere belief, but mere belief put into, practice, or belief put into practice of living. That's the day that me and my wife, actually got married. I love that day. November the 14th allows me to look forward to a Thanksgiving. Look, it's a day that allows me to look towards some cranberry. So November the 14th allows me to see Thanksgiving with the thankfulness and the giving part of it, because I witnessed her display what the love is like in our household. So November the 14th is what I'm most grateful for, that I decided to live to be able to celebrate a Thanksgiving.
Yeah, really good stuff. So I'm curious, traditions. We have usually where I'm actually taking some time off this Thanksgiving, which is a huge unusual for me, just to take any time off of work, but decided to take a few days off. And I'm curious, turkey, ham, like what's on the menu and the in the Kessler Peters house? Um,
It has to be turkey. So I go for very traditional turkey stuffing, mashed potatoes, gravy, cranberry sauce, rolls, pumpkin pie, apple pie. I need enough carbs that I'm going to sleep as soon as I'm done eating.
I love it. I love it. What's on the menu at the Bobby Harris house?
Oh, I'd rather go to my mom's house. I know I'm
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
I'm certain that she's going to put something together, because I'm actually going to Africa
Oh,
right
nice.
to Ghana, the door of no return. I'm going back to return.
Wow.
But I'm certain whatever she decides to make is going to have something dealing with sea moss, some chia seeds, as well as some wild oregano oil. And I mean, everything on that. She puts it in my coffee on everything. So I'm not certain, but I do love some turkey. I love that turkey with some cranberry sauce, and I
Mhm.
love sweet potato. I don't need the crust part, but
There.
I would love some turkey with that cranberry sauce and some sweet potato.
Good stuff. So we got a few more minutes left, but I want to, we didn't really talk about how people can get involved in working with you. So Bobby, I know you have Unincarcerated Minds. If people wanted to work with you or follow you, how would we go about connecting with you and the work you're doing?
Yes. We are on social media, Unincarcerated Minds. That's our Instagram. All our social media plugs is there. You can also at info at UNIN-minds, MINDS.org. You can always send us an email, and we'll definitely respond, as we respond to every last one of them. We're always looking for people when we're doing our food drives to volunteer to assist. We're looking for people to help us as we compile data to be able to show the needs assessment of the people that's directly impacted. So we welcome any level of assistance and support, and to collaborate with anybody that's speaking about building up the human family.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Lisa, you got to give us like how can we connect with some of the work that you're doing, and how can we find out and stay on top of that? Because I know there's a lot going
Yes.
on.
Yeah, so I love partnering and collaborating with the work that other people are doing. We shouldn't be reinventing the wheel, but we do better when we're working together. So I have a website, lisaredeemed.com. Also my email, lisaredeemed@gmail.com. If you go to my website, it's the easiest. You can see a little bit of everything that I do, which I didn't really get to touch on fully, but professionally, I do counseling, and then personally, I do have a small business that I do coaching. I do public speaking. I have my book. I'm working on my second book. I have a small business where I actually partner with people that that are trying to have small businesses to help support them and help sell the product that they have. So lisaredeemed.com, also on social media platforms, Lisa Kessler Peters. You could just put it in there. I have YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. I even started TikTok, Lisa Redeemed, on there. I finally broke down and started a TikTok channel. So
Awesome. I haven't gone there yet. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about TikTok.
it's only 2 weeks old, but I'm doing okay.
Yeah, we're gonna have to check that out. We gotta see Bobby Harris on TikTok.
I don't know how to get on it. I literally don't know how to do. I'm used to beepers. I'm still used to beepers. I'm trying to bring beepers back in.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know if that's gonna play out for you, Bobby, but best of luck to you on that.
Thank you.
So it's great. We have a few minutes left. I just want to talk a little bit about Thanksgiving, and I appreciate both of you, the work that you both do. So you guys are both you're on the ground floor. You're in the neighborhoods. You're doing the hard work, and that's really where it starts. There's a great book I always refer to by Damon Santola, and it's called Change. And he talks about using the Black Lives Matter movement, but he talks about how you make change happen. And change doesn't happen from the top down. It happens from the bottom up. It happens from the streets of Philadelphia and Lancaster and throughout our Commonwealth and our country, where people really do good work, and it changes lives. And you may not see it, but every time you have a food drive, or every time you give a passionate speech about getting people back to work, and every time you talk to people about trauma-informed care, and you share your stories about the journey you've been on, you change people. And we often don't think about that. The words that we say and that come out of our mouths affect people. And we have gone through this journey where, some of the words of people that we've lived with and that we work with have changed us. And you guys have both added to that in my book, for me, and you've been impactful. I watched you both, and I've been glad that you're both part of my life and the work that I do. And thank you so much for spending some time for us today and being on. I want to talk before we end the show about a few things. One is what I'm grateful for and thankful for. So obviously, I'm grateful for our guests, but I'm grateful for my partner, Lisa, who's been incredible. I've known her since I've been home, and she's been a true life partner in sharing her passion for diversity, inclusion work, and equity work that she does across the country. And obviously, my daughter, who just got married last weekend to a wonderful gentleman, and I'm so proud and so grateful to have been at her wedding. I never envisioned that I'd be at a point in my life where I'd see her married. My family, it's a tough journey when you go through prison and you come home. And I'm grateful that my family have opened their doors up to me, and they've taken some time to chip away, right? And it's hard to break down some of those walls. But I re-engaged with my sister recently after a long journey through my indictment where we weren't able to talk, and really sat down and hashed things out, and we're able to work things where recently had them over. They were at my daughter's wedding, and we've been able to share some great times. So, I do believe that most importantly, the work I do at Jevs and here at PhillyCam, being able to share stories like Lisa's and like Bobby's, and they're so impactful people. But every day, every show that I put on, it's because I want to give people a voice. That's how things change, is by being out there. And last, I'm grateful for each day. My glass through this journey and up until today, and we'll go on to the future, will always be half filled and not half empty. Because quite frankly, when you go through the justice system and you have so much before and you lose it all, you gain perspective on life and what's really important. And what's important to me is the people that I work with, the people that I help, and the people that I'm surrounded by that are doing great, not just great, but truly amazing things. So I thank everybody that's on the show, has been on the show this year, for sharing their journeys with us and really making the world a far, far better place. So thank you, Bobby, and thank you, Lisa. Really grateful, and wishing both of you a really happy and healthy Thanksgiving holiday, and want you to be safe. I want to also give a shout out. PhillyCam is an amazingly great organization. Then they are WPPM's going on its 5th year. Their fundraising drive is still open. I ask you, just think about it. PhillyCam.org/listen, and you can go on and make a contribution if you're so inclined, and help out and help the cause, because it gives people the voice and the ability to do all the things that we do right now. And lastly, there are some things I want to get on people's calendar, because we won't be around for Thanksgiving week. I want to mention that there is a free expungement clinic coming up on November 29th. It's at the Office of Reentry Partnerships, which is 1425 Arch Street, and it's being led by Philadelphia Lawyers for Social Equity. So check that out. It's an expungement clinic and pardons, and they're going to talk to you about the process and whether you qualify. And it's as my staff says, it's free 95, so it doesn't cost you a single thing. There is also a turkey drive and food giveaway for those people that need some help during this time at Triumph Baptist Church on Saturday, November 20th, from 11 to 1, and that's at 1648 West Hunting Park Avenue in Philadelphia. So check it out. They're going to be giving out turkeys, turkey breasts, and a whole bunch of food supplies for the holiday. And appreciate the people at Triumph Baptist Church for leading the charge and having the turkey drive. I know there's a lot going on. One last one I want to mention is that there is a gun buyback program Saturday, November 20th at St. Paul AME Church. That's on 83098 Lindbergh Boulevard in Philadelphia. And that's Reverend Lloyd Guyton. And also at St. Mark's Church, 4442 Frankfurt Avenue in Philadelphia, at lay leader Christiana Mancini is leading that charge. These are the gun buyback program. There's no question in Philadelphia, we're struggling right now with violence in our city. And if we can pull some guns off the street, man, that's Thanksgiving. That's what it's all about. So if you can, check it out. But a gun buyback program, you get a $100 gift card to Brown ShopRite when you turn in a gun. So if you have an old gun lying around, don't wait for it to get into get into some trouble with it. Just turn it back in. Get a Brown's food card and get some food for your family for Thanksgiving, free of charge. There you go. So we're going to close the show today with our Thanksgiving. And I know those that can't see it, this is all quotes of why we should be thankful for the year. So from looking forward, we wish everybody a happy and healthy Thanksgiving holiday. And thank you to my guests, Lisa Kessler-Peters and Bobby Harris. This is Looking Forward. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.